All right, today we're gabbing with Ben Mandelker, one of the co-hosts of the biggest Bravo podcast in the world, Watch What Crappens. Ben is a return guest to the show, and I'm thrilled to have him on the show midway through his tour right now, or towards the end of the tour, actually. And we're going to talk about this season of Summer House. Ben, thanks for coming back on. How are you?
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me back on. I'm doing great, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous. We just had a little catch up about our summers. We're both been traveling a lot, and you are on the Mounting Hysteria podcast tour right now. Two more
Yes.
dates left. Is that correct?
Two more dates. We have a Seattle show tonight. I don't know when
Yep.
this podcast is released,
Tomorrow.
so
So
okay.
let's talk about the next week. You're
Oh,
ending it, right?
I just want to say, God, that show last night was so good. It was so hilarious. Thank you to all the people. I can't even believe Julia Roberts stopped by. I mean, who
Oh
would have
my God,
even
can you
thought?
believe she flew up to Seattle for that?
I
Amazing.
know. And she said, please don't put this on social media. So, of course, we don't have any photographic evidence, but like, what a
Hmm.
great show. But
I wonder who Julia Roberts' favorite Bravo celebrity was. Did she say that last night?
yes, she said it was Carlton Gebbia. I was like, that's an odd choice, but you know what? We'll support you, Julia.
We will. We will.
Um, for real though, we have a show in LA this coming Thursday on June 19th. It's our final show, and I'm really excited because we're going to recap the Valley at it, which is, the Valley
Major.
in Hollywood is going to be great. Also, the theater, the Fonda Theater, I drive by it all the time. I've seen shows there. So the fact that we get to do a show at the Fonda Theater, it's right on Hollywood Boulevard. I drove by it yesterday or 2 days ago to get my hair cut, and like our names were already up there on the marquee. It was like very, very cool.
That's
So
so cool.
yeah,
That's surreal.
it is kind of like a dream, and it is weird to think like what we do, both of us do, as podcasters, is now like has over the past few years sort of teetered over into like live event things. I mean, I never thought that this would be like my path in life, and like to see your name above Hollywood Boulevard is like kind of the coolest thing ever. So really, really excited for that show. So I hope everyone comes. Everyone, if you're in the LA area, I'm shamelessly going to promote it right now. Like I want
Do
to have
it.
like a really big, fun show. Gib, if you were in LA, I would demand your presence.
Oh,
But
beyond. I'd be
alas,
there in a second. I would be there in a second.
yes.
No, but I mean, yeah, I agree that the in-person thing, I mean, it doesn't, we speak into these microphones every single week, and for you to have
Hmm.
those, I mean, at the Fonda Theater, no less, but like to have that in-person interaction, it's affirming. It reminds you that you're part of this big community, that we sometimes I think I
Yes.
can sometimes forget that like it's a very mostly positive, mostly positive place.
It actually is like a really great community. I have to say, like you hear horror stories about other sort of pop culture communities where
Yeah.
it gets really vicious. I'm not saying that's not in the Bravo community, but by and large,
Hmm.
like it's pretty awesome. And I think it's just cool with these live shows because everyone's watching something else. If you hang out with your friends, someone's like, "Have you watched Severance?" I'm like, "I'm watching, Love Hotel." Sorry. And like everyone's watching something else. So
Yeah.
when you're able to do these things like our show, BravoCon, anything that you're doing live, it really is a way to like meet other people who like the same show, and you're just like with your people.
Yes.
And it's actually it's awesome. And we
Yeah.
we feed off that energy big time.
And last thing I'll say before we jump into Summer House is like, if anybody's
Yes.
listening who's in the LA area and like you don't have anybody to go with to something like this, just still buy the ticket because like
Thank you.
like we were talking about, like the community aspect of it. If you're there solo, you will make a friend, you will hang out with people in the seat next to you. Like that is how it is at these things.
Yeah, and honestly, like even if you don't make a friend, you should still buy a solo ticket because I always say you listen to the show on your own, most likely.
That's
I mean, like
true.
you probably maybe you listen in the car, maybe you listen with like your significant other or your kids. But like I know for me, usually when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm like working out or I'm driving. I'm listening solo. Like you can also just listen solo in person too. And
So
I've actually
true.
become like a huge convert to doing things solo. I now go to like rock concerts alone, and I find it so great because there is the upside that you do meet friends, and actually like not to detract from what you're saying, people really do like meet people, and they a lot of times if they're new to a city, this is a way to meet new friends. But like, man, if you've never gone to like a concert alone, like I just went to Norway alone, and like there's a whole like you don't have
You're
to rely
speaking my
on
language.
people.
I literally, I told you I was in Europe for 2 weeks for two weddings, and I was missing Beyonce in Jersey, all her New York dates.
Oh,
So
I'm so sorry.
No, but I took a train to London for one extra night just to see Beyonce by myself in the pit. And it was like, did I make any friends? No. But I felt like I was amongst my people and like I was just
Yes.
living my best fucking life and I was dancing and singing alone, but I didn't feel alone, you know?
And isn't it kind of nice to like not have to coordinate with anyone? You're like, I can
Yes. Oh my
leave
God.
exactly when I want to leave.
Yes. I
I
can
don't
wait
have
in
to
whatever line I
stand at
want
a
to wait. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I don't have to stand in some weird line to find someone. I don't
Yes.
have to wait for my friend at concessions. Like there's it's like very liberating.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I
But of
completely
course, bring
agree.
your friends
So,
too.
yeah, of
Bring your
course. Yeah,
friends too.
bye.
Bring your friends, but
But
like we
there's just
do
no
get
shame in being alone,
a
honestly, with these
hundred
kind of things.
percent
Yeah.
not. Yeah,
Yeah.
100% not.
All right. So, Ben,
Oh
season
yeah.
9 of Summer House. What were
Wow.
your overall feelings and thoughts once the season wrapped of the season?
Another strong season. I think we've had two really solid ones. Like maybe slightly less strong than last season because I think the
Right.
Carl and Lindsay stuff was just like so riveting, but like really, really, really solid. I mean, the show has really found its voice for now.
Hmm.
And I loved it. I've been a Summer House like girly since season one.
Me
I'm kind
too.
of a Summer House apologist, in fact. So I'm almost always gonna just really like it. But I feel like the cast chemistry is really solid. I would have liked to see Gabby get in the mix a little bit more.
Right.
Lexi, there are things I like about Lexi, things I didn't like about Lexi. But overall, I think a very positive season.
I'm
What
with
do
you.
you
I feel
think?
like, yeah, I'm with you. I feel like it started really strong. There was a lot of big plot points that I was interested in, like the
Hmm.
Loverboy Spritz Society stuff was very intriguing to
Yes.
me. I wanted to see West. I wanted to see West and Sierra after their breakup. Lindsay pregnancy with Carl. Any clues about Craig and Paige? Like there was a lot of different threads that I was like, okay, I'm
Mm.
genuinely interested in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bailey, what's going on with Bailey?
Totally like that. That was top of my list. I was so intrigued by her. Um, yeah, no, but then I think, I think it stayed pretty solid, but I feel like the last like couple weeks I was like, all right. And I think the press around it didn't help. Like Jesse and Lexi were doing interviews every freaking day, it felt like, and it was like, all right, we're kind
Hmm.
of beating a dead horse right now. That's how it felt with that particular thing by the end. But I agree, overall,
Hmm.
very, very solid season.
Very solid. I mean, I think last year did anyone leave from last season? Didn't no, it's the
Danielle,
same cast. Oh,
Danielle, right?
Danielle. Okay,
Yeah.
Danielle. But last season, I felt like what was so great about last season was that really everything was like firing on all cylinders. Like everyone was really involved. And this season, so we don't have Danielle. I feel so bad that I didn't even remember that
It's
Danielle left.
okay.
But like I feel like she's left the show like 5 times. But I think Emerald and Lexi, like Emerald definitely was a dud.
Yeah.
And it's always sad when they have a dud on the show. It's always sad. And like I just feel like last season there were no duds.
Hmm.
So that's I think probably maybe like the little niggle I have about this,
Yeah.
but otherwise,
So you
like a very
said you
strong
had
season.
complicated feelings about Lexi. Like you kind of like things and didn't like. Can
Yes,
you elaborate on that? Because she's the newbie that really made the biggest splash, obviously.
she did. One season wonder. I mean, what I liked about her, I liked when she finally started to realize that Jesse was are we cursing on your podcast?
Yeah, let it fly.
Fuck boy. It's like she's F boy or fuck boy. No, I liked when she sort of like realized that and she sort of laid into him, and I felt like she did it in such a very like composed way, and I
Sure.
like that she stood up for herself. We've seen people just get dragged into these endless fuckboy relationships for like weeks and seasons. So I like that she cut it off, right there. So I was like, oh, I like that maybe there's more depth to her than it seems. Because at first she sort of seemed like a vapid influencer, and so I felt like I saw some upside, but there was a lot of downside too. It was just sort of like giggles and well, just like sort of generic sweetness. Um, I just she didn't really make efforts to know the rest of the cast, and she can blame Jesse all she wants, and Jesse may have influenced that. I'm not going to take that away, but like ultimately, Emerald and Lexi didn't really connect with anyone, and they just sort of stayed siloed off into their own areas, and I think that was their big downside.
I completely agree with you. It's like I agree ultimately I sort of side on her side of the fence with the Jesse stuff, but I do think that like there are some things in there that she had total agency over and she just didn't she didn't
Yeah.
handle all of it correctly for her own self in terms of like longevity on the show and like she had this blossoming thing with Gabby towards the end and they were like holding hands the entire reunion, but I was like too little too late kind of for both of them probably.
Yeah, I also kind of got an unspoken energy that I felt like a lot of people were just tolerating her. And I feel like they
Yeah.
were trying to make it work. They were trying to make Lexi happen and they're being nice to her. They were not mean girling her at all, but you could see they weren't genuinely like really connecting with her because they weren't inviting her, especially, like Paige, Sierra, and
Amanda.
Amanda. They were totally nice to Lexi, but they weren't like, oh, you got to come hang out in the bed or anything like
Right.
that in a way that we've seen in other seasons. Like when Sierra first showed up, they were like, "Oh my God, let's hang out all the time." So you could see there just wasn't like a personality match there, and Lexi didn't really do much to kind of build that.
Yeah, and I've talked about this, but we joke about Lexi, but I mean about Bailey, but I do kind of feel like Bailey was supposed to be Lexi's sort of like built-in bestie, to like sort of help her
Yeah,
navigate alongside her. And I think not having her like ultimately actually was a disservice for Lexi just because one of the reasons why Jesse and West worked so well last summer was because they came in together and they sort of had
hmm
that.
Paige and
Um,
Hannah came in together. Don't forget.
exactly, exactly. And so I think Sierra is actually a standout in that capacity if you think about it, I guess.
And Sierra was like a slow burn because
Yeah.
her first like season, she was very muted, and it took her like a few seasons to come out of her shell, and now she's sort of in her own. But yeah, that's interesting. And Lexi and Bailey, but even if the two of them had been together, like as soon as they showed up, I
Yeah.
know like I felt and a lot of other people felt like, who are these children?
Yeah.
And it's not like Lexi is that much younger than the rest of the cast, but she reads as young and
You're
Bailey
right.
reads as young, and it felt like not quite a match for the show in general.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that. And then when it comes to Imrul, I agree that like he was never it was never really gonna like it was kind of clear it was never really gonna work. And he got the
Hmm
orgy the orgy king, label and that kind of stuff.
Orgy
And I was
edit. Yeah.
the orgy edit, hashtag orgy edit. I'm glad he got that little moment on the reunion because I think it added like a slight layer to the whole situation, but ultimately like part of social media was sort of up in arms of this whole thing, and I'm just like, I don't know. Even if he had gotten more screen time, I wouldn't have been convinced, I don't think.
I don't think so because I didn't see him really like hanging out with the cast or like he did or
No.
what was presented to us was not someone who was like trying to make inroads with the cast. And I honestly don't think that Bravo would edit that out. I think if they had the choice, if given the opportunity to make someone look like they are more of an organic part of this household, they're going to go there because they need to like keep on bringing in new talent. Like they have a hard time with casting the show, and I think that part
Hmm.
of the reason my theory is that like they're on a strict timeline. Like it has
Totally.
to start shooting
It's
in
happening right now.
July. Like
Hmm.
so everything has to be in order, right? So like I think if they can find gold, they're gonna mine it. And so I think Emerald was not connecting with people, and it looked like he was when everyone would come back from the club at the time when people were drunk and hanging out, he was always bringing girls back. There's nothing wrong with bringing people back, but it seemed like he was doing that a lot. And even though he said, "Oh, I only brought back like five girls or something," it's still like
That's 5 weekends
it's
of
like
going
I don't
out.
know,
Yeah.
5 weekends or like well, actually it's really 4 weekends.
You're right.
But because two were the same night. But it's still that's bonding time.
That you're right. The drunk bonding time is crucial for a house like this. You're right. And that's a really good
It's
point. Like
crucial.
if Bravo finds a star, they want to cultivate that person. They want to
Especially on
especially
Summer House.
especially on Summer House, especially at this time on Summer House when it feels like we are sort of drifting into this new era for the show or like we're prepping for that. So it's like
Yeah.
they
They're
wanted
not
Lexi
gonna
to work too.
I think they did. I mean, look, even though Carl says he's coming back this season and he may very well be, like there's like an expiration date on Carl.
Yeah,
He really is of all the people, he really is reading as like sort of oldest and most out of place on the show these days.
I agree.
So like he's not gonna last very much longer. Kyle and Amanda, I mean, I think Kyle will cling on to the show for a long time as he should because he still has the mentality for the show, but they need to like bring in more
Hmm.
people onto the show because we are having a phase out of like the old guard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wes and Sierra, I mentioned that was one of the sort of things that I was excited to follow, sort of the follow up to their breakup.
Yeah.
Um, did that deliver for you?
Mm, no, it was like
Yeah.
I found that was actually not very interesting. I think West in general was a little bit of a flop this second season.
Yeah.
I think he was like like once bitten, twice shy. He was much more muted, and they all commented on that. But he just was, he didn't really have anything to do because Sierra wasn't talking to him, and Jesse was like been focused on Lexi. So he just was sort of around the house, and so West is cute and everything, but uh, you know, he had such I mean, really one of the worst reunions of all time last year, and
Truly. And it,
I
it,
think
it
he needed to
yeah.
like change the narrative this summer and this season, and he didn't really do it. He just sort of was moping a lot, like, oh God,
Yeah,
everyone
it was
hates
bad
me.
vibes. And and it just sort of like, I mean, Sierra herself like lost respect for him because of like Sierra would have actually locked back in with him much more quickly if he had like fought fire with fire. If he had been
Oh,
like,
100%.
you know what I mean? If at that one dinner where now we know he left for 20 minutes and came back and
Yeah.
still had nothing to say, if he had defended himself or said anything,
Hmm.
I think the entire summer would have gone differently for him. I really do think that.
Yeah, I think he sort of needed to do the Lindsay Hubbard thing, which is like you get battered in a reunion and you come back like nothing happened, and you're just like,
Yes.
whatever, just go
Yes,
straight
it's a
to the
pro.
rosé. And he really didn't do that. He started like hooking up with people outside the house. He like didn't want people to come back. He didn't because you know why? One of his issues is that he is very focused on his image, which is something
Hmm.
that wasn't apparent really last season until the reunion. And so, like, anytime he's like, I don't want people to get mad at me by bringing people home or whatever, that ultimately translates to like, I care about what other people think about me.
Mm. Yeah, it
And that's
ties
gonna
up to
like
that.
not work out well.
Yeah, it ties up to that thing that Lindsay said at the reunion about Lexi and Jesse, where she was like, "It's become all about perception for both of you," and that's
Yeah.
not it. And that's what makes the OGs
I
of the show great because they don't necessarily worry about that in the moment.
Yeah, and maybe that just has come from like being on the show for so long. I
Yeah.
do feel kind of bad for West because like I think it really sucks that he and Jesse had this whole like out of the box
Mm.
idea of like we're gonna like bunk together basically. We're gonna live in a room together. It's gonna be bro summer, and immediately Jesse abandoned him. And I actually feel like
Yeah.
Jesse has not gotten enough shit for that. That is such a mean thing to do to your friend. Like, and it's like, and that's the worst. And we've all met that person. We've all seen that person who
Hmm.
just like drops you for like in an instant for someone that they
Yeah.
want to bang.
It wasn't bros before hoes for him. It was
It
yeah.
wasn't. And there's
No.
always someone on a reality show cast that does this. I always think all the way back to, I mean, like every real world episode, every season, there's someone. I
Yeah.
think about like the Jersey Shore, about how Ronnie and Sammy like got
Yeah.
together right away. And they always say something like, I'm not normally like this. You were always like this. I
Right.
guarantee you're always like this. It's even happening right now. I don't know if you're watching Love Island USA, but there's a couple that like, boop, right
I'm behind on
away.
it. Right. Okay.
It's just,
Yeah.
I can't stand that. Like you have buddy time that you are supposed to be
Yeah.
dedicating yourself to.
Well, that loops up into something that I feel like we've got a couple seeds, particularly from Lexi when she would talk about like what Jesse would say to her off camera when he would like, according to her, say some things about West and like being jealous of his star power and all the attention he got from his first season and there's something there. I don't know, and I'm curious
Hmm.
if they'll try to mine that in season 10 because it could be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be. I mean, it's interesting watching these two guys navigate like sudden fame. They've become so popular so quickly. West definitely got stink on him in a way that I don't Jesse has been able to avoid, even with
Somehow.
honestly like being like a blatant fuckboy and just like messing up. I think it's just his that smile. I think he has this image of like,
Tall, dark,
whoops,
and handsome,
I
but also
guess I messed
goofy.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I tried my best, but it wasn't good. Whereas West abandoned his persona at the
He
reunion last year
did.
in a way
He
that Jesse did
did.
not.
Mm.
So
So
remember
maybe
how weird that was? West
oh,
was
I
sitting there
was
hunched over in this oversized blazer, like he was at the end of Big, and he was just like, "Oh well, I
not the end
don't," you
of
know.
big. No, but you're right. And that's what it's frustrating because I think that West in that first season, he was so watchable. Like he was like there was so much to love about him. I still think he has a good amount of star power and potential, but like I need him to lean into it because like
And
and he can't do this again this coming season. He has to
yeah,
like
he'll be
really step
fine.
in. Yeah.
I think he actually will be fine because you may remember that Paige's second season, she was actually a bit muted because she was dating Perry, so she was spending a lot of time in the
Right.
city. She
Yeah.
wasn't around as much, and it felt like this person who was so funny and who was so central to
You're right.
the prior season was somehow like relegated to the sidelines because that was the season. I believe that was a season where it was really focused on Hannah and Luke. And so Paige
Hmm.
became secondary, whereas this previous season it was Paige and Carl. And so I remember thinking like, oh, did Paige kind of just like burn out? But then she came back. So, I think Wes will come back. And I think sadly, I think we're all going to enjoy him again. Like we're all going to fall back in
Very
love
much
with
so.
him, because
Yeah.
he was so lovable. And, Ronnie, my co-host, was like, from the beginning, he's like, I don't trust that guy. I don't trust that guy. But it's like, at the same time, you can't trust any of the guys,
No,
right?
but
They're
I also
inevitably going to
think
disappoint you.
totally. But I think one of the things, and maybe people disagree with me, but I kind of think that definitely Jesse and Wes, and I think maybe most of the guys on Summer House, like they don't mean badly, in my opinion. Like they all like are pretty like
They
they're not
just
ill
got their heads up
intentioned.
their asses.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
it's if that's the worst you can if that's the worst, I don't know. Like I just don't it's not
It's a
there's not
totally different
malicious.
vibe. It's a totally different vibe than what we saw on Vanderpump Rules and now the
Totally.
Valley, right? Like these
Exactly.
like venal people who are, you know, doing whatever for fame and like, doing
Hmm.
terrible things. I mean, we've seen cheating on this show, but I don't know. I also kind of get the sense that these people, this cast in general is like a little smarter
Yeah.
than
They
other casts.
they have the New
Like
York
there's
savvy, I think that it kind of bleeds into the
yeah,
show.
I think that's the thing. Like, I think originally Summer House was supposed to be like, look at rich kids in the Hamptons, right? Like, look at how the privileged people, in their
Hmm.
20s gallivanting. But it has really become more of like that New York media savvy group, people who are familiar with like Betches and Vulture and like The Strategist or The
Yeah.
Cut. Basically New York Magazine properties.
No,
People
but
who would read Jezebel, like they're just like a little bit more engaged in that way. And that's where I think Lexi and Bailey did not quite match. It
yeah.
just sort of felt like I would believe that Lexi might read Jezebel, but like it just didn't feel.
I also
I
think
don't,
that like what sets Summer House apart is they all have this like professional ambition, sort of beyond being a
yes,
reality star too. Like pretty much all of them, even if it's being an influencer and content creator, like they have this ambition to build something for themselves. Like, and it's kind of for the most part fairly self-made. It's like a lot of them have
right.
really kind of built up these careers for themselves, and that kind of gives them another sort of level of like legitimacy, but also like no bullshit. In
Yeah.
certain situations.
It's like their end goal is not to become a like an actor or a
Yes.
director or a singer. Their end goal is for in Kyle's case, to sell his company.
To sell us stuff.
Right. Like
Yeah.
Kyle's an entrepreneur. I mean, Bird Dogs, which was his first brand,
Yeah.
that's still going strong.
So
Like that's a
true.
thing. Like that was a good investment by him. And for as annoying as it can be that they're constantly pushing Loverboy
Yeah.
down our throats. I mean, I think it's doing well. I mean, it's a brand, it's a national
Hmm.
brand, and everyone knows what Loverboy is. Like everyone knows just because of the
Hmm.
show.
Hmm.
So I agree. I think there's like that professional aspect. And Danielle, as much as we made fun of her for being like, I'm a CEO and founder, I mean, it's ridiculous. But it also like this is not like what was it? Pucker and Pout or whatever. What was Katie's blog?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, wow, throwback. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Um, Looping back to Sierra for a second, like, what did you think of the season that she had? Because in my mind, like, I fucking love Sierra. Like, I think that
Hmm.
I find her very watchable. I thought this season, she was an incredible friend to Paige on several different occasions. Like, she was
Yes.
such a necessary kind of hard truth sounding board for her.
Hmm.
And then I think about that scene at the reunion or that conversation at the reunion where she was talking about her mom and all of that and how like that to me explained so much about how she is the way that she is.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Sierra coming out of season 9?
I really like Sierra a lot. I think she gets better every season. I
Yeah,
think
me
she
too.
has like in the beginning, like I said before, she was very quiet and muted, and she's really come into her own. She's become funnier. She's become more opinionated. I think she is an amazing friend. And I think like for me, what cemented it was that there was one scene this season where Paige was crying in bed about Craig, and Sierra started crying too. And then do you remember she sort of like hugged her? She sort of like flopped down on Paige and hugged her.
Hmm.
And it was kind of like I thought so beautiful. It was like
Yeah.
she was crying for her friend because her friend was sad. And the way she sort of hugged her was kind of like, I'm gonna protect you. And I was like, Sierra's a real one. Like
She
this is
is.
not reality show bullshit. Like this is a real one. So I think that Sierra's just gotten better and better. My only concern is that is she's basically going to be the one, it's going to be like her and Amanda without Paige.
Hmm.
And will that be a strong enough dynamic? And I'm not
I'm not
sure about
sure. Yeah, well,
that.
because I feel like Sierra and Paige are the real. They carry
Right.
that trio, and so without Paige there, and I do think that Paige actually helps bring out a side of Sierra that's more, fun and easygoing and lighthearted and
Yeah.
funny. And you'd hope that like now Sierra feels like emboldened enough and empowered enough to do that on
Hmm.
her own. But that's a good question. That's a
You know,
really
people for a few years have really made fun of like Paige and Sierra and Amanda for being like the bed bugs, bed rotters, all that stuff. They're always going in their bed, and I always liked it when they did that because I
me
felt
too.
like that was such a real part of the show. Like something happens in the house, and then you go like sit in the
And they
bed, and then
talk
you'll
about
gossip
it.
about it. Like, did you see what
Yeah.
happened? And like
Hello.
that's also a really special part of Summer House, and that really became the tone of it, which is kind of like a show that comments on itself while it's happening,
Yeah.
and like. Paige was so good at that, and Amanda and Sierra can definitely do that, but um, Paige was just really good at it, and in a
Yeah.
way that like I I am totally open to Sierra kind of like leading that contingent of the house because we still will have like Lindsay, maybe Gabby, but like they have a different vibe. They're like, let's go party, and so I don't know. I mean, I hope Sierra can bring one of her real life friends onto the show, so that
I
way
was
they
about
can
to
have
say,
like
who's
an
Sierra's
organic
roommate going to
chemistry.
be? Who's her roommate
Yeah,
going to be? Who's she sharing that bed with? There's
that's what we
no real
need.
option right now. Right.
Like bring
Yeah.
in one of her friends, like I said, bring in one of her friends and then bring in someone new to, cultivate new talent and new relationships. But like don't force Sierra to have to like make a whole new
No,
friend with someone because she's such a slow burner. She's gonna take forever to do that.
absolutely. Lindsay's pregnancy, which,
Yes.
we all knew about as viewers. She tells them about it in the first weekend at the house when Carl's not there yet. I feel like with her and Carl cohabitating when she's pregnant, like we got some good little funny dramatic moments, but nothing too crazy. And but I do feel like Lindsay was like universally better liked this summer than or this season than she
Yeah.
has been ever on this show, and she's been around since the beginning. Do you agree with that? Is that what you kind of observed too?
Yeah, I mean, because she wasn't really doing much, to be honest. So there
Right.
was not much to like
Yeah,
dislike about her.
that's
She's such a
true.
lightning rod for controversy because she'll just go there and she doesn't care. And she had a moment where she tried to do that with Carl and Lil, and that was really fun. But ultimately,
But
she's just pregnant and
incorrect.
having fun. So
Yeah.
like, there was nothing to be angry at her about. Nothing to like be like, I can't believe she would do that, or oh, she's crazy. So she was universally liked. I am looking forward to post-pregnancy Lindsay. I'm hoping we
Yeah.
can actually get a little bit more of that like lightning rod Lindsay back
Activated.
because
Hmm.
we need activated Lindsay.
We
It's
do.
like there are times where I'm like, oh my God, Lindsay is the worst. And then there's times where like Lindsay is an icon, you know? And like I vacillate back and forth. But like I mean, obviously she's an icon at this point. When she first was on the show, when this show began, I hated her with a passion because I was in that first season, especially. I was totally on Team Christina Gibson. I thought Lindsay was so mean to Christina. I thought she was so selfish. And I was like, this woman is crazy. And look at her. She's now like, she's so full of drama. Look at her and Everett. I was like, she is awful. She is the worst. But now I think I've just sort of grown to be like, oh, I see. This is like her charm. And this is
Yeah.
actually what makes her amazing.
Well, I think the polarization is what makes a good reality star at the end of the day. Like people have to feel something about you, whether they love you or hate you. Like, and in the best case scenario, that people jump between either side, and like
Yes.
that's
Well,
Lindsay.
and also, like I find for me, and I almost want to say, is this like a gay thing? Is this what we do with our strong females? But I'm not gonna generalize it. I'll just say it for me. The almost every time there is like a lady on camera who I hate, usually by the next season I love them because I realize how fun it was, and like I was like, wait a second, she was. I think on some level you're like this person was like living their awful truth, and I love it. So it's like
Totally
Leanne
agree.
Locken, her first season, Leanne Locken on Dallas. Oh, I hated Leanne, and the second season is like, oh my God, give me all of Leanne. Like Karen
Yes.
Huger, I'm like, oh my God, Karen Huger is great. Like so many people who are like so like they're just like alpha villains, I'm like, wait, I love your villainy. You're the best.
Yes, and it's like the moment they pull back, you're like, no, like don't, no, no, we
Don't
need
be
you. Like
nice.
yeah, you're so essential
Don't
in this capacity.
don't go on a healing journey.
No, fuck the healing journey.
Continue to be nasty. Yes, do this.
And we also got the freedom dinner, which was like 11th hour, great
Oh,
moment. You know what I mean? Come on.
that whole episode, that was the episode where Lexi broke up with Jesse, which I thought was, again, amazing. She just left him stammering. He had no idea what he had done wrong. I thought she laid it out all so cleanly. I was actually so proud of her. I was like, finally, like we're seeing this other side. So that was so thrilling to watch. And then that we had this freedom dinner that was so passive aggressive and so hilarious. Lindsay throwing a dinner like, I'm gonna be free of Carl. And like that was a year ago that like if it weren't for Carl, like I wouldn't be pregnant right now. And he's like, thanks a lot, huh? I died. That entire episode was pure perfection. I loved it.
So good. And then Amanda walking away coughing.
Oh my goodness. And then Kyle also be like, hey, just so you know, they're saying that you said this about Sierra, that you like broke up with Jesse because of Sierra. And she's like, what? I never did that. It's just like it was all gossipy
I
and
love
it was
it. Gabby got
perfect.
activated too. Like, yeah, that you're right.
Gabby,
That
yes.
was a great episode. That
I
really
want
was.
more for Gabby. I
I
want more for
know.
Gabby. I feel like Gabby has like raw potential, but they just have not been able to tap into it. I'm starting to
And
think it may lie in Gabby, you
I
know?
know. I feel like I do think she holds some stuff back, and I think because
Yeah.
she's kind of like probably naturally a kind of private person, but like we'll hear allusions to her hooking up with like, these European guys or things like that, but it's like it never happens at the house. She never brings anybody around, and
I think
ultimately you
she's
kind of need to
guarded.
do that. Yeah, yeah,
She's
you
guarded
do.
because she actually should at this point be like ready to
Hmm.
like be in that gossipy position. Like it's actually kind of shocking that she never really joined like the bed crew because she is so gossipy. And when they showed at the reunion that clip of her talking to Lindsay, being like, "Well, fuck Carl," he's just like, "Look at his stupid teeth," also blah blah blah. I was like, "Yes, I love this.
Yeah,
I want that's what I
exactly.
want to see is like girlfriends like
And she has
getting
that in her.
together."
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
but
yeah, I totally
we need more
agree.
of her. I'm
Yeah,
worried. Like it's
I
that was her
know.
fourth season, right?
I think it was
Her third or fourth?
third because she came in with Sam. She came in with
She had
Sam, remember?
Sam and
Yeah.
Chris, right?
Yeah. So I think
Well,
that
it's
was
been
two
like a
seasons
few
ago. I
seasons. Like
know.
I'm worried
Yeah.
they may axe her, you
Yeah.
know.
It's sort of like when Maya was on for two seasons at the very end of her second season, like she had that breakup and then she like ripped her mic off so she wouldn't have to talk about it. And it's like you
Yeah,
can't be doing that
you
kind of
can't.
stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Maya also seemed like I liked Maya a lot, and it seemed like she sort of plateaued
Yeah,
and then sort of became boring.
totally. Carl, you said he has an expiration date on the show. I tend to agree. I do think
Yeah,
I kind of, there were a couple moments this season where I think maybe unintentionally he made me laugh. Like the whole Lil situation, like
yeah.
made my skin crawl, but in a way that like I still enjoyed watching it. Like she was so weird and so like they
She
were so
was
awkward. Lemur energy or whatever she said. Like,
Yeah, and she's
uh,
like wants to be a magician. She's like she carries around like a pack of cards because she wants to be a magician. It's like she
okay,
has her
girl.
props on spec. I just thought that was
And she
so
teaches a trampoline
crazy.
workout class. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know, like Carl. He was like the prototypical fuckboy on Bravo for so long.
Hmm.
He obviously like he got sober, which I think was great, but he has been so fragile since then. And I've just like I think I have not gone on that journey. So and I know everyone's
Me
journey is
neither.
different, but like I've just never really seen someone be this fragile after all that. It always feels like you can't say anything. Like Carl's really going through a hard time. I think he kind of cultivates it. Every confessional is like, well, I'm taking it one day at a time. It's like he's like, oh, I just tried French yogurt. It was really delicious, We brand, and it was so good. But I'm just gonna try it just one day at a time. I don't want to go too fast. I don't want to like this brand too much. It's like, why does everything have to be so gentle?
Yeah, I know.
And it kind of feels like, should you even be on this show? This feels like,
I
considering that
agree.
you're going through all this stuff, like maybe reality TV is
It's not
not
the best
healthy for you.
environment. No, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like there was the secrets revealed or the under the covers episode that aired last night, and like there's this whole scene where like the girls steal the costumes from that first party. It was a girls versus boys, and they like hid the costumes, and like he was having this like like this genuine like
Was
freak
he?
out.
I didn't see
Yes,
this. Oh my
yeah
God.
he like was like I know it. I know I'm like being a little bitch about it, but like this is like and I'm not joking. Like where are our costumes for like hours? And it was just one of those weird moments where it's like it's not that serious. It's just they were playing
But
a
it
joke
also
on you.
But it also makes you feel like the old Carl is still there, and he's
Yeah.
actually kind of cultivated an image of like, oh, I'm a recovered fuckboy. I'm like softer and nicer. I
Hmm.
love my mom and all that stuff. And I don't know, I
Yeah.
felt like the way he was like when he would every time he would talk to like Jesse and West, it just felt like a dad. He was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
West Beast," and I was like, "Why does it sound weird when Carl does it?"
Or
When
or
Jesse's like,
even
"Hey, West Beast,"
yeah,
you know?
even when he was like trying to flirt with Sierra, I was just like we're just like last week we were with Lil, like now we're just trying to have like another storyline to keep you in the mix, and I just don't think it's natural or like interesting anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, like how he sort of like aged out of this show like so much. Like whereas Kyle seems like
I
he's
know.
a culture match still.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Kyle, I feel like him and Amanda had a pretty good summer together. Like
Yeah,
they like
no
all in
fights.
all, no fights. There was so you haven't seen the Under the Covers episode, but like they in the reunion they played a clip of a conversation they had at their apartment where it was like they were talking about how they're not their friendship isn't really intact, Kyle and Amanda, and like
Hmm.
that was part of this bigger conversation they played on that episode. And I kind of wish they'd included that because they talked about a lot of different things in that episode in that conversation. Um, but like other than that, they had a pretty good summer. Other than this whole kids situation, which I think is very genuine. But
Hmm.
they seem to be in a decent place now.
They
I don't
seem
know.
like, yeah, it seems like it's in a better place. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
or at least they just got like a good edit, or they got it together. I mean, they tend to be cyclical. They usually have a
they
really
do.
wretched season, and then they have a good season because like, oh wow, we were so terrible, and everyone thinks we're gonna break up, and we're let's put some effort into this, and then the next season they fall apart again. So I think this is just like a peak, and we'll have another nadir
Yeah, yeah.
next season.
And it was interesting because I feel like there was this potential. We talked about the Sprit Society situation. I alluded to that, and like there was potential for his drama with Paige over that to really impact him and Amanda, but it
Hmm.
didn't really impact them that much. I feel like they didn't really let that happen.
Yeah, well, because Kyle was he did ultimately take the higher road of being like, okay,
Yeah,
like he sort of fell on the sword for Craig.
yeah,
And then later on at the reunion, he was like, yeah, no, I was just being nice. And
yeah.
so like I think he did not want to impact Paige and Amanda.
But that did you? I loved that drama. I loved the Spritz stuff.
Spritz
Like it was
drama
like,
was
I mean,
great.
Paige versus Kyle was so fucking good. That text he sent her and her
Hmm.
walking away from the table, but then walking back to chew him out. Like that was good
Yeah.
shit. That was good
Yeah,
shit.
she's like, I'm sitting here drinking Loverboy every single. I'm supporting you for like 4 fucking years. It was so good because Kyle gets to be. He can be such a baby, and he sends
Hmm.
awful. Remember season two? Was it going into season two
The
where he
email.
wrote the 17-page
Oh,
manifesto?
never forget.
I mean, he
Honestly,
is.
I wish somebody could should do a dramatic reading of that email at some point because that's history.
Yeah, I mean, season two. I would say season two of Summer House is the worst season they ever had, but like
Yeah,
it did have some special moments, and
it
that was
did.
one of them.
For
Yeah.
sure, for sure. But you liked the Spritz drama. You thought that was pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed that because it also brought in stuff with like relationships and other dynamics, and I like that that like Craig and Kyle had to kind of like hash it out while dressed like pirates, sitting in like an inflatable pool.
yes, that was very good. There was like multiple frank conversations that were had in that lifeboat that wasn't even on
Hmm.
water. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I also
yep,
liked. I feel like one of my things going into this season was like that was a huge like natural point of contention for these two people, but it acknowledges that they're famous and reality stars and kind of breaks the fourth wall in certain ways. Like,
yeah,
and I feel like Summer House is doing such a good job of doing that. Like even with Jesse and Lexi when they were had that final sort of conversation at the last party, he was like, "We're on a reality show. Like I have to talk to my friends about my relationship." And like
yeah.
I'm so glad that they're like subtly or not so subtly, addressing that, which is what Vanderpump Rules never really did.
Yeah, in fact, actually, across Bravo, we're seeing like a total destruction of the fourth
Hmm.
wall. Like it's on Real Housewives of Atlanta. There's a whole storyline that's
Yes,
about Dennis filming
filming.
with Drew Sidora. Like it's about the production itself. And I think that Bravo just finally said, you know what? Our audience is savvy. They know what like it's probably serves the show to give authentic storylines. And if it's about production, then whatever. It's better to have something real than to have like a fake fight about something else that explains like the animosity, but like you don't address what really it is because we always know it's like, what is going on? Why are they so angry?
Right.
So I think that this is I think remember last season the big moment was when Carl and Lindsay were talking about, or Carl and Lindsay were having a fight, and Carl was saying like, I don't know if I can deal with all this or whatever he was saying, and he pointed to the cameras in the room, and they
Right.
showed the cameras
That
in the
was the
room. That was like a
moment.
big fourth wall breaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really cool that they're breaking the wall more.
Yeah, I totally agree. In the Sprit stuff, did you believe Craig or Kyle more?
Kyle,
Yeah, me
because
too.
Craig has a long documented history of like lying or bending the truth. It's like
Yeah.
Summer House, like it's like people forget, and I've grown to enjoy Craig. I met Craig once and had like the loveliest conversation with
He's a
him. He
nice
was just
guy.
so
He is.
nice. He's so nice and he's so charming. But like the truth is, he lied. I mean, if he's willing to lie about like being a lawyer and the bar exam and graduating and all this stuff, like what won't he lie about? It's sort of like in him. Like he's always caught up in these lies. He's always getting caught in them. He even said on Southern Charm recently, he's like, "I'm a storyteller." It's like I just have to
Mm,
go with Kyle on this one, just based
yeah.
off of track record.
Yeah, the storyteller thing, that's just semantics. That's another label for it. And I feel like it
Yeah.
was in that same vein, it was so interesting hearing from Paige about how much she lied for him. Like she was like, I've never lied on the show, but I started lying for Craig when we were in a
And
relationship.
she
That
must
was
have
crazy.
hated that. She must have
Yes,
hated that because I think that her whole brand is authenticity. And like
totally.
that must have driven her nuts. I'm actually surprised she stayed in it as long as she did. But like sometimes relationships do a weird number on you and you just sort of get sucked into it?
Yeah, because for me, like I was fascinated by the lead up to their breakup and what we saw from her. Like I felt like I was watching her toil with it in her mind in real time and like genuinely struggle with it. And like
Yeah.
I feel like it was a balance between I had that feeling absolutely 100%, but then I also had this other feeling of like, okay, she is choosing to put this on camera, which like it kind of signifies there's no going back from that. Like in an alternate
Yeah.
reality, they stay together, but this all airs on TV, and there's like that doesn't, you know what I mean?
And I'm glad she did because
Me
there was
too.
so much blowback against her by certain people.
Yep.
Because Craig made this whole thing about like, well, I'm all alone. And the truth was, we see that like he's like, oh, I was so blindsided. And you see her, she's like struggling to
Yeah.
deal with it all
Openly.
this season. Yeah. So like there was obviously trouble in paradise. So it just goes to show like every time he said he was blindsided, I never really believe it. And then also you could
Mhm.
just sort of see, you could just watch Southern Charm and see how Paige was just getting more and more disinterested in him.
Yeah. It is really funny how like I had rose colored glasses with them for like years. You know what I mean? Like I was like
Hmm.
I was shocked when they broke up, but then obviously in hindsight it's not shocking. But like in the moment I was like, whoa, damn. Like I don't know. Were you shocked?
A little bit, but I think also, I was shocked that it was this messy, actually. I
Yes.
think that the geographical issues were gonna just never go away. So I sort of felt
Hmm.
like as much as I liked them together, as much as I shipped them, they like there was she was never gonna move down there, and his business
Yeah.
is called Sewing Down South, so it's tied down there. Plus, they're on geographically specific franchises that they just can't give up. And I just didn't see either of them really willing to make that sacrifice. So I thought that was going to be the thing that was going to
Right.
break them. But it turns out actually what broke them was more just trust issues and like career jealousy issues, etc.
Hmm. Hmm. I loved hearing about him
Also, like,
being kicked out of the wedding.
I know it was great to finally hear those details and that they finally stopped covering for him. And this
Hmm.
is a guy who gets protected so much.
So
And that's the thing, like
much.
he has all these people lying for him, like a whole cast of people. All these people saw what Craig did, and all these people lie for him. And then he's still going to be shady about these spritzes and start fights. I mean, it just shows a huge amount of like entitlement.
Hmm. I completely agree. And it does make me think about that last scene at Lindsay's apartment. That was the pickup scene. And the
Hmm.
trailer had that one moment of Paige talking about him, him messaging other girls that didn't end up making it into the show. And the after show also disappeared. And
Hmm.
I just have this hint or this conspiracy that
You
it
think
has
that
to
he
do with him.
he complained to Bravo like
I
stop
kind of
doing
think
that?
that. I kind of think that.
Probably,
Yeah,
probably.
'cause
I
they were talking a lot on that after show,
Wow,
you know?
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Bravo also wants to protect its stars, you know? I mean, Bravo,
Hmm.
I have to imagine Bravo has some percentage of sewing down south, right? Like, so
Right.
they probably also want that to flourish. So they're like probably like Bravo's so protective of their stars. They're so
They really
protective.
are.
So I can imagine they were like, this is too far.
Yeah. Well, this brings us to the end of with that final scene at Lindsay's, which I fucking loved. I thought it was like it wasn't as dramatic as I expected it to be, and it was like
Hmm.
just a perfect balance of like fun and funny and cute and kind of sentimental. And it told me like that is a potential preview of what we could genuinely expect from a potential spinoff on Summer House. And we talked
Right.
about, they have to invest in future stars, and some of these people are going to age out of this show. What are you thinking when it comes to the future of Summer House? What do you think they're going to do? What do you think they should do? Where's your mind at with that?
I think it'll be fine. They just have to just do some. They're gonna have to do some big casting. They may have to like cast a bunch of people and just see who sticks. And they do that every now and then.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like Summer House they'll have seasons where they will have dry periods in terms of casting, and then they'll find someone interesting. Um, they can do it. I mean, when they got rid of the Workus twins, that was sort of shocking. I was like, oh my God, how are they gonna do the show
Yeah.
without the Workus twins? And they found new people.
Imagine that. Imagine
I
that.
know.
Yeah.
But like this, so they just have to hopefully do some good casting. Don't get any duds. Like we don't need another Imrul. We don't need another Chris. We don't need another. I always forget his name from Amit from season two.
Oh
Like these
yeah.
people
A
that you don't
meet.
even
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Amit that you don't even
Yeah.
remember on the show. Um,
Ghouls.
but it's going to be tough
Yeah.
because people are going to be like, it's just not the same without Paige. Or and they'll they may have to like they may have to lean on Lindsay actually. That they'll have to put that baby in some like cottage off to the side or whatever. Like they're gonna need. I think it's too much to lose Paige and then have Lindsay be like
That's
only
a good
a guest
point.
every now and then.
That's a good
They'll
point.
probably bring back Danielle. They're like, okay, Danielle, you're
Uh,
back in.
yeah. Yeah. You tap
No, what
back
do you
in.
think? What
I just
happens? What do we do?
I think they need to have the Valley for New York. They do. And I think that
Hmm.
this season 10 is like the perfect opportunity for them to like, as you said, cast a lot of people, throw all of them in this house, have them switch out weekends, whatever, see
Hmm.
who sticks. Have Lindsay make some appearances. Kyle's still around, Carl's still around. And then I think they should have a backdoor pilot at the end of the season into the city or whatever it's going to be called.
Yeah.
And then it's like we still know we get Lindsay, we still know we get Kyle and Amanda, we still know we get whoever else is going to be on that show. Paige could
Hmm.
join that show down the road. And then like we
Yeah.
have two shows that we're excited about, but I just feel like this feels like such a pivotal year for the show, and
Yeah.
they just have to find new people that work.
They do, and the show's like really, it's on a high right now. It's getting the
It
biggest ratings
is.
it's ever gotten, and so the fact that it's like at a high, and yet it also feels like, oh my God, it's on
I
the brink
know.
of just going away. So they really have to. They will. I think they are going to make that like priority number one is make sure that that ship doesn't sink. I also think it's like up to us as an audience to be like positive and like be
Yes.
supportive. I know that sounds
No,
crazy,
no, I
but
agree.
like audiences can be so mean to change, and then the networks get the wrong sort of feedback. And I think that like, and I'm gonna say this about the new Vanderpump Rules too. Like we have to like
Hmm.
just be open to it and just have fun and like. And I know, listen, I was a hater of the new Roni, but that's because also like I really that one I felt like was an accurate read on my part from the jump because
Hmm.
I am normally all in when they change things up. I'm normally like, this is maybe good, this is maybe good. And I was like, okay, new Roni, I could tell right away that was a stinker. Like sometimes it's a stinker is a stinker. But
Yes.
just just try to be open and support what comes, then let's let it grow so that way the show can continue to
Yes.
flourish and do its thing.
Exactly. It's hard
We're
for
all in
them.
it together.
I completely agree. And like, I was a hater of the Valley, and now I'm like, can't, I have to watch every episode live on Tuesday night. So I'm like, I'm with you on that. And I think that, Summer House has been this slow build. And I actually think that like your point about the audience being part of that is like even more apt for Summer House because it has been this show that like
Yeah.
it has grown and grown and grown and grown. And I think it surpassed Southern Charm and Vanderpump Rules as like the premier younger show on
Yeah.
Bravo, and like they don't want to lose that, and I don't want to lose
No.
that. So, um, Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah, because the moment that like people start like shit talking it, then Bravo starts to retool it, and then it kind
Yep,
of just starts to fall apart. And like, I mean, you're allowed to be critical. If you don't like it, you
of
don't like it.
course,
But like, make sure you don't like it because
for
it's
valid reason.
bad,
Yes. Yeah.
not because
Not because you
you
don't want
don't
to like
like
the new people.
change.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
exactly.
like that's why I'm gonna just try to be like very open to the new Vanderpump Rules, you know. And I think
Yeah.
the other thing was with New York. I think maybe one of the reasons why I was also didn't like it from the jump, which again, I think it was just bad casting, but also I didn't really feel like the show needed to be totally rebooted when it was like a premiere show on Bravo, and then
Right.
they just threw it out and then put in something. So it was like especially difficult. But some of these shows, like Vanderpump Rules, I'm totally down with the fact that they said, okay, let's start fresh with a new cast. I'm like, I think it's great. Like,
Hmm.
let's do this. Let's be open to it. But
Yeah.
you know what? I think the you know who really has it all like figured out is Below Deck because they only keep like two or three people,
And
and
they've always done
so
it that
like
way. Yeah.
the audience expectations are always like they're never like, oh my God, it's not the same as it's just like it's new people. We just take them on, and it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. And I think, well, I think part of the reason why the Vanderpump Rules thing we're more open to it is that we know that the old people have a place to land if they
Hmm.
want it, if they make sense. And it's like we need that on the East Coast. So,
Yeah. And it's
you know,
actually the Valley was a really good experiment because it also shows that we
totally.
can do kind of like a show that we graduate people to. So like
Absolutely.
when they first said like Roni, then Roni Legacy, it was like that's weird. But now
Hmm.
we know that actually that kind of thing
It's
can
not
work.
weird. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
not weird.
Absolutely. Well, Ben, I so appreciate you taking the time out of your Mounting Hysteria podcast tour with Ronnie. Obviously, you have your second to last show tonight. LA next week. Where do people go to get tickets? Do the plug before we sign off.
Okay, watchforcrappens.com is where you get links to get your tickets. Follow us at Watch for Crappens. I'm at Ben Mandelker and Ronnie, who's currently on a plane here to Seattle, or I'm sorry, yesterday. I mean, he's off. He left Seattle.
The
He's
show
in the
is
air
amazing.
somewhere. He's
Julia
just
Roberts is writing a review right now.
he's on
Uh-huh.
Julia Roberts' private plane right now. I'm so jealous. He's at Ronnie Karam. Yeah, follow us, and I would love to see so many people. I would love to see some new faces in our audience. And again, we are going to recap the Valley in Hollywood, which I think is special because I love talking about an LA show in LA, and we're going to make fun of all those fuckers. Especially Jax, as Jax is coming home from
Oh
rehab
my
episode, so
God.
that's gonna be
Quote
great.
unquote rehab. Quote unquote
Yeah,
rehab. Yeah.
also known as
Fuck
the
that.
Airbnb down the
Yeah.
street.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh my God. Well, Ben, thanks so much for doing this, and we'll do it again soon.
Thanks for having me.
I want to gab.